Good day, ma'am and classmates. I am Jen S. Arbeta and I am going to discuss the ABCD of the statement of objectives. According to Heinrich et al. In 1996, one method that can be useful when writing a learning objective or outcome is the ABCD method, and this method used to create a clear and effective objective. This method has four elements. First, we have audience, behavior, condition, and degree. First, let us define audience. From the word audience, it talks about people, meaning audience it determines who will achieve the objective, or simply ask, who are your learners? For example, the grade 1 pupil will be able to. In that example, the audience is the grade 1 pupil because they are the one who will be performing the objectives. Another example, students will be able to describe. So in the second example, students are the audiences. The second element is the behavior. Behavior uses action verbs to unite observable and measurable behavior that shows mastery of the objective. Ano ba yung i-act ng bata? For example, should be able to distinguish. Ano ang gagawin ng bata? Ano yung kanyang ipiperform? Another example, should be able to describe the steps. Anong gagawin ng bata sa steps? Ano ang kanyang ipiperform? Yun ay ang pagdi-describe. To describe the steps. So, let us all remember that in behavior, it always represents the action word or the action verbs. Under the behavior, it has three domains. First, we have cognitive domain or the knowledge. It emphasizes remembering or reproducing something which has presumably been learned. Ito yung knowledge or learnings ng bata na natutuhan niya noong naunang lesson. At kung ano yung kanyang matututuhan pa sa bagong lesson. Yun yung sa cognitive domain. The second domain is the psychomotor or skills. It concerned with how a learner moves or controls his or her body. Ito yung domain na kung saan tumatukoy sa kung paano gumalaw yung bata, kung paano niya ipiperform o kung paano siya magpiperform. The last one is the affective domain. It composed of two different types of behavior. First, we have reflexive or the attitude. Second, we have voluntary reactions and actions or the values. Ito yung domain na kung saan binibigyang importansya ng learners kung ano yung objectives. Halimbawa, the learners gives importance of the lesson. The third element is a condition or condition of performance. It states the condition under which behavior is to be performed. Ito yung klase ng element na kung saan minamatter niya kung ano yung behavior na ipiperform ng bata. For example, at the end of the session. So, at the end of the session is a condition. Dahil dito na ipapakita kung ano yung gagawin ng bata, kung ano yung kanyang i-act, or kung ano yung kanyang makukuha na learnings at the end of the lesson or the session. Under the condition, it also tackles about what tools, aids, or reference materials can the learner use. Example, charts, pictures, graphs, and etc. In addition, the teacher must think practically on what tools or objects should she or he use inside a classroom. Because if you are in a very small classroom with too many objects or materials and you let your students to roam around it will hinder your desired outcome. Hindi mo makukuha yung desired mong outcome. Therefore, kinakailangan na yung objects or yung mga learning materials mo na nasa loob ng classroom ay nakamatch sa kung ano yung nasa learning objectives mo. The last element is the degree or degree of mastery. If possible, state the criterion for acceptable performance, speed, accuracy, quality, and etc. It asks the questions how it went well, how the performance went, either good or bad. It is also the boundary kung saan o hanggang kailan magtatakal yung bata or yung learners. For example, between primary and secondary sources. That example is specific and madali lamang ma-identify ng bata kung ano yung goal niya, kung ano yung kailangan niyang hanapin o kailangan niyang i-perform. Learning outcome. Ito na yung pinagsama-samang elements and we have a color coding. Red for audience, violet for behavior, brown for condition, and green for degree. At the end of the session, the grade 1 pupil will be able to distinguish between primary and secondary sources. As you can see that the condition was placed or was positioned at the beginning. And take note that there are many objectives na nauuna si condition. Ngayon, ating isa-isahin yung example or ating himay-himayin. Sino nga ba ang learners? The grade 1 pupil. Tama, dahil sila yung gagawa ng action. Therefore, the grade 1 pupil is the audience. Ano naman ang gagawin ni audience? To distinguish. Kaya ang distinguish ay ang behavior. Dahil yun yung action word. Ano naman ang condition? Sinabi ko kanina na ang condition ay isa sa mga boundary kung saan o hanggang kailan magtatakel lamang yung learners o yung audience. Kaya sinasabi dito sa example na at the end of the session. And the degree ay between primary and secondary sources. Naka-specified na yun. And now, let's try another example. The same method pa rin yung gagamitin natin, yung ABCD with color coding. Students will explain the social responsibility to ensure that adequate legal services are provided for those who cannot pay for them in 3 paragraphs. So the audience is the students because they are the one who will perform. Will explain the social responsibility is the behavior. The keyword there is the explain or the action word. To ensure that adequate legal services are provided for those who cannot pay for them is the condition because it uses a tools or a medium to perform the task. And that is to ensure the adequate legal services. In degree, it is in 3 paragraphs dahil ito yung basihan kung hanggang saan yung level ng mastery ng bata or ng learners or the audience.